the Upper Gallatin Area School Board work session to order. If everyone, we're going to go kind of do a different thing. If everyone could stand for a moment of silence, and then
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for attending November's work session. We are going to jump in order of the board's agenda to talk about the presentation for the possibility of the potential closing of Smithwood Elementary School. I have a slideshow prepared in the back, so I'll be referring to that if you would want to turn it to the slideshow. I will walk through that. Last month's meeting, we did talk about the need for repairs at Smithwood Elementary with the roof being in the condition it is, and we had an estimate for the repair or replacement of the roof, as well as installing new boilers in Smithwood Elementary. The estimated cost for that work was about $1.1 million. And it was also discussed at that meeting that we would look if there was a potential for closing the school and if that would work in the district, and that's what I have prepared for the board and the public for this evening for the potential of that happening. So, Mr. Hudson, if you can go ahead and slide, you'll see A.O. Wilson Elementary Schools and all elementaries, if Smithfield were to close, that all elementary schools would be grades K through 4. Okay, this enrollment that you see here for kindergarten, that is an estimated number, and we took the first grade, which is this year's kindergarten. Those are the numbers from October's enrollment for the district. So we have 3 kindergartens now, and if we would have similar enrollment, you would have 3 kindergartens next year with the students that would go to AL that don't go there now. Second grade would be a large grade. You have 96 students, so you would need 4 classes of second grade, 3 classes of third grade, and 4 classes of fourth grade. Okay, once again, all of these numbers are based on October 2019 district enrollment, and where students would attend, those students where they live, they would attend A.L. Wilson Elementary. And the next school will be Friendship Hill, and you'll see first grade, once again, same concept. This is this year's kindergarten at Friendship Hill. These students are estimated, those enrollment won't be until the spring. So for the sake of having an estimated enrollment, we took this year's kindergarten numbers and plugged it in for kindergarten. Now you see there's 2 options. Right now there are 28 kids in each kindergarten class that would move to first grade. And over here you see an 18. That's if enrollment would go up and you would need to add a class for kindergarten first grade. This would be the numbers if you added a third class instead of keeping it at 2. And that would primarily be based on if enrollment was higher than it is now, that we would add classes. Second grade would have 2, third grade would have 2, fourth grade would have 2. And these, once again, your total of students at Friendship Hill would be 258 grades K through 4. And this is all actual enrollment numbers this year. The only thing estimated is kindergarten numbers. George Plava, you have similar concept with your kindergarten numbers being estimated. You have 3 kindergartens now. You have 3 first grades next year, 2 second grades, 2 thirds, 4 fourth grade numbers would start the year at 30. So I would recommend that you add a teacher right there to give you 3 classes. To give you some smaller class size in fourth grade. Now, once again here, you see a fourth class if needed. The numbers would be smaller if your enrollment would go up from kindergarten to first grade at that school. Your total students would be 324 students. Okay, next school is Masontown Elementary. Masontown currently has 2 kindergartens with 27 apiece. So that is what we estimated for kindergarten next year. Same concept. If enrollment would go up, and, you could add a class. That would be depending on numbers. You would have 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 2 fourths. Number of students, 252 students projected. The middle schools. Now this shows both middle schools would be grades 5 through 8. What this is showing you is 5th grade and 6th grade. Now what you have in the middle here, you have 128 5th graders that would go to North and 136 6th graders that would go to North. We have block scheduling at the middle schools for math and ELA, which is 2 periods of math, 2 periods of ELA. So the students, we would take 3 math teachers between 5th and 6th grade and divide them up. They wouldn't be combined in the same class, but you may have a teacher that teaches 5th grade math, a teacher that teaches 6th grade math. You might have a teacher that would teach some 5th grade classes and some 6th grade classes. They're all elementary certified teachers. Your average class of ELA and math would be about 29 students, but that might be slightly lower because you have, in the middle schools, you do have learning support math and Read 180 for their ELA, which those kids, that's where they have their math and ELA classes. So those students will be taken out of this average and they would be enrolled in your learning support math class if there was a need in the Read 180. So this number would be slightly lower. Your science and social studies is your electives. There is 1 teacher per grade level. Their average class size would be about 21 students. That could vary depending on the schedule, the middle school schedule, and the classes the kids are taking. So this would reduce the number of math and ELA teachers by 1 in each subject for Albert Gallatin North Middle. You can move to 7th and 8th grade. 7th grade, you have 118 kids that will be in 7th grade next year, and 112 8th graders. You take 230 students, divide that between 9 blocks, which is 3 teachers. It gives you an average of 25.5 kids in your math and ELA classes for both 7th and 8th grade. And once again, these numbers, all kids were enrolled in those numbers. Those numbers will be slightly smaller because of the kids that are enrolled in learning support math or Read 180 classes for ELA. Your science, social studies, and your electives will be about 19 and 18 respectively with 7th and 8th grade. And once again, that would be reducing a math and an ELA teacher where you would have 3 math teachers teaching 7th and 8th grade and 3 ELA teachers for 7th and 8th grade. Currently, there are 2 math and 2 ELA teachers in each grade. If you can move to South Middle School, numbers are similar. You take your 121 5th, 136 graders in South, divide it by 9 blocks for the 3 teachers. That gives you your average for math and ELA, and your average in your science and social studies for 5th and 6th grade. 7th and 8th grade. Mr. Hutchins, there you go. The number is 122 7th graders, 114 8th graders, 236 students divided by 9 blocks. That will give you your class size. And remember to say that South, we have students that enroll in learning support math classes in Read 180, which that number would be slightly smaller. It would probably be about 23 or 24. And your science and social studies class sizes in your electives. Okay, once again, you'd also reduce the number of teachers by 1 for math and ELA in 7th and 8th grade. Okay? This slide shows the enrollment. I know it's small to see. This is 2007. From 2007, you can see the pattern of decline for enrollment all the way up until October of 2019. So enrollment, declining enrollment is playing a major part in why we're looking at things of this nature. And what I don't have here is if I went all the way back to the original consolidation of the district in 1987, you had 3 school systems in Alva Gallatin area, Fairchians, Georges, Durham Township, Alva Gallatin. You had over 4,500 kids in the district then. So that plot would have been up here, and you can see the steady decline over the years. And we've maintained the same number of schools up until the closure of Deferred 4 years ago. So this is a significant part in why we're looking at these things. If you can go to the next slide. Enrollment by the numbers is broken down by schools. I included Deferred Swaney in here because I was back in 2007. You can see at the high school in 2007 they had 1,299 kids. Right now, as we stand, they have 1,041. North, 466 kids, currently 373. South, 424, currently 370. A.L. Wilson, 182, currently 393, but I want to bring your attention to 2016, the first year that Deferred Swaney was closed. A.L. Wilson had 238 students enrolled in their school. When you close Deferred, the next year, they had 227 students in that year. The following year after the closure was 402. So you increase the enrollment in AL to get it more toward its functional capacity. In the same effect, you can see their enrollment's kind of held steady. It did dip down here and came back up the last 2 years. There's currently 393 at A.L. Wilson. George Plava was affected. Students that went to Deferred, but there was a portion of them that went to Plava. Their enrollment went from 316 to 346, and they've held kind of steady. They're at 348 now. Smithfield, they were at 288. When Deferred closed, a portion of students went to Smithfield and brought their enrollment to 320, and they've held steady. They're at 320 now as well. Masontown Elementary really wasn't affected by the closure. We did move the autistic support class to that school. However, their enrollment has maintained itself. We're at 229. In 2007, we were at 214. It's bounced up and down, but it's held steady. In Friendship Hill, wasn't affected by Deferred closing. You had 213 kids. They held steady, went up to 243 to drop back down, and right now they're at 215. The total enrollment for the district was 3,826 in 2007, and you can see the decline. And we are right now at 3,289 students as of October 2019. So that's a decline of over 500 students since 2007. Now looking at the savings, now what I mean by the larger class sizes, Mr. Hutchinson, if you would flip back to like slide 3, you can see Friendship Hill, you have first grade 28. That is what I mean by the larger class sizes. If those enrollments would go up and we would add a teacher, I have another slide that will show you savings to the district with the smaller class sizes where you would add some teachers if you needed to. Okay, so if you can go back to that slide, Mr. Hutchinson, please. Okay, and I apologize it may be hard for you to see where you're at. This will be available on our district website tomorrow if you want to look at it closer. It will be available on our website tomorrow, correct, Mr. Ball?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the net savings in personnel, which includes cafeteria, office personnel, custodians, and teachers, would be $855,210. This, all in the middle, is the cost of utilities, copier services, snow removal, the guardian services, and so on. So those savings are going to be consistent in every building. So the total savings would be $953,878. And if you add in year one the cost of the roof and boiler upgrades, you're at, that's $1.1 million for a grand total savings in year one of over $2 million. Now, beyond year one, it would be $977,733 that would be a repeating savings, but that number would likely go up every year because contracts from year to year go up. Employees get raises, so that number would slightly increase from year to year. So that is with the first grade is year one, and this is repeating year two and beyond. You go to the next slide, Mr. Hutchinson. If we would add teachers to try to make class sizes smaller in those cases I pointed out, this cost stays the same. This savings is reduced to $574,476. The cost of the roof and boiler stays the same. That's an estimated cost of $1.1 million for a grand total in year one of $1,773,000. Every year thereafter would be roughly $653,511. And that's with adding teachers and a reduced savings in personnel, but you would have smaller class sizes where needed. Okay, next slide, please. Your fund balance. This is another thing that we're looking at that is the reason why we're having these discussions. In 2007-8, we had a fund balance of $7.5 million. In 2008-9, this row were revenues, this row is expenditures, this row indicates an increase or a decrease in your fund balance. This row shows your actual fund balance. This is our millage rate in the district. So 2008-9, at the end of the year, the actual, it was an increase to fund balance, so we went up from 7.5 to 8.2. 9-10, we had to dig into the fund balance and took 379,000 plus. It was a decrease, it went down to 7.8. The next year was another decrease of 170,000, 212,000 in 11-12, 307,000 in 12-13. 13-14 was 983,000 fund balance. And the reason we were taking from the fund balance is because your expenses exceeded the revenues. There were, we did have one tax increase right here in 2011-12, but even with the tax increase, we still had to dig into the fund balance over 300,000. And you see in 14-15, a big hit to the fund balance. The balance of budget was $2.3 million, and it took it down to $3.8 million in the reserve. And, the next year, 15-16, was 1.6, taking another large chunk. It takes us down to 2.2 million, and we also had a tax increase. So with the tax increase, you still dug into the fund balance 1.6 million. 16-17, this is the year that deferred Swaney was closed. So even though there was a tax increase, we closed deferred Swaney. We did see an increase in the fund balance of 2.3, so rebounded to 4.6 million in the fund balance. And then 17-18, it was about a break-even year, although it did increase, our fund balance increased by 172,000. But this last year, 18-19, right now it's in the process of being audited, so this is not an actual number, it's still being audited. But closest we see, now this is actually come back favorable to the district because we were estimating last year that we would be taking another large chunk of like 1.5 million or more to the fund balance. But my business manager, Mr. Belzy, got a report where we came back favorable on local revenues and some things that we didn't have to take 1.5 million, we only took a little less than $0.5 million. This number could change once the audit is completed. So you can see right now we have a standing fund balance of 4.3 million, and our taxes haven't increased in 3 years. We did apply for the Act 1 exception to the preliminary budgets the last 2 years, and taxes were not raised. So the village stayed the same. Thus, that's why you have a decrease, one of the reasons you have a decrease to your fund balance. Okay, and that ends my presentation, and I did that before a public forum. I know that there may be several of you that would like to speak at public forum. Maybe have, also, I want to stress that this presentation and this meeting is not a public hearing to close the school. This is an option that I presented to the school board, so they have options. Okay, the public hearing, there can be no decision made on closing any school this month, next month. If we're going to move in that direction, we would have to have a public hearing where we would do a similar type meeting, allow for public comment throughout the presentation, ask questions, and we'll respond to try to answer your questions. That would be a public hearing that most likely would be set up in December. It wouldn't be at the December 4th meeting. It would be probably the week after. There would be a public hearing. And even at that meeting, there cannot be a decision made if the school district is going to close the school or not. At that point, there would need to be a 3-month period before the board, the earliest they could make a decision on voting on it would be March. That would be the earliest. So no decision can be made. I thought it was fair to the board members that will be coming on to be a part of any public hearing and any decisions that need to be made moving forward with whether the school district is going to put a roof and boilers and repairs in Smithfield, or they're going to move toward closing the school and move forward with redistricting. So I do have Mr. Parham, are you here?
I'm right behind you, sir.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Parham has I'm sorry to make the turn back around. He has a couple of maps. This map on display here, he also has up here a smaller version. This is Smithfield Elementary School's attendance area right now. It's been this way since we closed Deferred Swaney. And what I had Mr. Parham do was break down Smithfield Elementary and a proposed restructuring, and where students that reside in these areas that are blocked off, where they would, which elementary school they would attend. So Mr. Parham.
Good evening, everyone. Do you want to touch on this, because this is probably something that everyone would be interested in. If there is a closure, where will my child go to school? So, as you can see on the map, there's a brown line that sort of runs diagonally there. That's a township line. Anything to the right of the line, like where the pointer is now, that would be the new A.L. Wilson addition. This would all be Friendship Hill to the left of that line. This area here would be Masontown, and this small portion up here, along with the Walnut Hill Road that's off to the north there, would be going to Platt Elementary. No students currently at any of the other schools would be displaced. We don't have to redistrict. It would just be dispersing Smithfield students to these other locations. Sorry that I'm not back to you guys. We may be able to cut buses, which would be a savings, but that would only be for the elementary because we still have to cover the entire school district for senior high and the middle schools. Middle schools increase, we won't have to add anything because they are currently underutilized. And also, the one point that I do want to bring up, and the board should be aware of this, there are currently, as of this morning, 51 students that are attending Smithfield that do not live in Smithfield's attendance area. So all the numbers and splitting it up, as you see here, was based on them living in an area and going to that area geographically based where they live. So that would be a decision whether you allow that to continue. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot to add. Anything you'd like me to cover?
I think that was it.
This will be up here for your purview during the entire meeting.
We would like to open it up to public forum now. You can just come to the podium, just state your name and address. My name is Kim. Is it on? Please come. Oh, okay. Thank you.
My name is Candace Jordan. I live at 320
Cornish Road, Lakeland.
You probably can hear me without this, I'm sure.
Everyone back there can?
While they're doing that, I just want to comment that this is the first time as a board member that I've seen this restructuring plan. There was nothing that I saw on the agenda that referenced that we were going to be talking this month about the restructuring plan. While I appreciate that this is a work session meeting, I just want the general public to know as a board member, this is the first time I've seen this or seen the map. So that's a fair statement.
We got it, Chris.
That would be correct. It's not a voting item. That's why it's not on the agenda for Wednesday night. However, it's on your board agenda as items here, which the public didn't see. You don't have it on your agenda. You picked up when you walked in. But it's not a voting item. That's why it's not on the agenda for Wednesday night. And you are correct. The board didn't see this. The board wasn't aware of any of this. I have prepared this since the last month's board meeting to prepare for this evening. So the board is hearing this for the first time as all of you did.
I guess I'm up now, right?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Candace Jordan. Most of you know me. I'm from 322 Cornish Road, Lakeland. I stand before you tonight as a concerned citizen representing students and parents of Smithfield Elementary, area residents and businesses, and the Smithfield Borough Council in our quest to keep Smithfield open. As your constituents, we are aware of the financial burden the district faces. And we know, as stewards of our district, you have an obligation to honor the will of the people and to provide all students a quality education. Equity for all students must be ensured. When faced with adversity, you as management must look to find creative solutions to the problems that arise. In desperate times, you must think outside the box and leave no stone unturned before closing yet another school. As an administrator, I was saddened by Department's closing, but understood the need to do so in light of previous board decisions and buildings not operating to capacity. Unfortunately, Department's waiting might still be open if A.L. Wilson was not built. And while closing Smithfield may help solve the immediate financial problem, how will it impact the lives of all students across the district, as well as the quality of education they rightfully deserve? These are questions which require much debate. Smithfield was overlooked while a new school was built and other buildings were remodeled. Roofs were replaced and Smithfield was simply hatched. But despite this obstacle, Smithfield Elementary students flourished, going from the state's warning list of underachieving schools to being named a 2005 National Blue Ribbon School and a National Title I school for the 2017-18 school year. Regretfully, I wonder if you realize the significance of these national awards, or the determination, hard work, dedication, and collaborative family and community support required to achieve this success. Districts across the nation would love to have a Blue Ribbon School, while Albert Gallatin can proudly say that we have 2. But closing a nationally honored school is unthinkable if you are truly interested in the education of our students. Districts in fiscal distress opt to close low-performing or under-attended schools, not high-performing ones. Community partnerships and the willingness of dedicated teachers to accept much-needed educational change, as well as the collaboration of all stakeholders to achieve a shared vision, have enabled Smithfield to succeed, and are things that you should be emulating, not eliminating. Elementary schools are the lifeblood of our district and form the foundation upon which all learning is built. They provide security, instill responsibility, inspire a love for learning, and nurture children toward a brighter future. They should not be closed, but rather realized for the positive impact they have on the lives of every child. As you embark on this closing, we ask you to share all options that were considered to keep Smithfield open, as well as a specific long-range plan for what our district will actually look like in the future and how much this endeavor will cost us. Continuous school closings are not viable options for financial stability. Do you truly believe that Smithfield's closure is in the best educational interest of the district? Recently, Mr. Dunn told us that money for roofs and the much-needed repairs to the football field was obtained through a bond. Well, why is it that Smithfield's roof was not part of that bond? The knowledge of Smithfield's need for a roof has been apparent for 10 years or longer. Was this oversight part of a much bigger plan that's been in the works for years? We are curious as to why there's always money found for other buildings and athletics, but not Smithfield and academics. You must remember that providing a quality education for all children must be your first priority. We know the positive impact community schools have on academic achievement, as well as the direct correlation between class size and academic excellence. We have experienced firsthand the significance of power, parent involvement, and community partnerships. Do you realize the detrimental effect you're going to have on our local community? If not, look no farther than Point Marion. We ask that you refrain from taking any vote until all options have been explored, and a specific long-range plan for what our district will look like in the future is thoroughly explained to us. Not just now. I mean, I've heard rumors that we're going to have deferred turn into a middle school. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, turn it into a middle school. We're supposed to be worried about security. What are we going to do? We're going to drag more children out to Friendship Hill, where they don't even have cell service, where you should be keeping children, elementary children, in their communities. So if there is a disaster, somebody can get to them, and it doesn't take them 45 minutes. I'm very passionate about this. I understand all about money, but I also understand that there are creative ways of getting money to solve solutions without destroying a nationally honored school. Thank you.
and I'm a resident of Fairchance in the Albert Gallatin School District. I'm also a 5th grade teacher at Smithfield Elementary. I'm here tonight to share with you some of the many benefits and positive outcomes of having small community schools within your district. I recently read a study conducted by Jordan Hyland of Harvard University titled, "What's So Big About Small Schools?" This document makes the argument that there continues to be increasing evidence that the size of the school is a major factor in facilitating academic achievement. This study came out of increasing pressure on schools nationwide to consolidate. In the past, the trend was to have larger buildings that could house more children with less staff, thus cutting expenditures. In 1916, the dean of Stanford School of Education wrote, quote, "Our schools are in a sense factories in which raw products, children, are to be shaped and fashioned into products to meet the various demands of life," end quote. Thankfully, that is not the prevailing logic and research of today. This paper went on to demonstrate the success a school district experienced when it took one of its bigger schools and broke it apart into smaller buildings. This model went on to be duplicated and copied in other districts across various states. Continued studies found that students in smaller schools have greater satisfaction and take advantage of the personal attention that is offered. It is fair to say that just having a smaller building does not alone make a successful school, or is a magic bullet for a failing one. Small community schools set the stage for a favorable educational environment. Great consideration is given to the amount of personal attention possible in a smaller school. Researcher Kathleen Cotton writes, quote, "A major reason these schools are safer and more successful than larger schools is that the staff members are much more likely to know all of their students well," end quote. Students are likely to have higher academic achievement when teachers are able to meet their needs both academically and personally. Successful schools also have higher levels of parent and community involvement. It was noted in this research that, quote, "Parent and community participation in the life of the school are both needed and easier to achieve in smaller schools. Parents respond favorably to the smaller scale and more personalized climate," end quote. Because of this, community members have ownership and pride because they feel connected. Smaller schools are less likely to have large numbers of students fall through the cracks of the educational system. When you have a smaller school, teaching faculty is smaller, which enables teachers to share ideas, identify problems sooner, and work together towards solutions. This allows the school to find the educational plan that will work best for them and is tailored to their students' needs. Children in these learning communities receive personal attention. Teachers, parents, and community members are invested, all with high expectations for every child. That is what needs to be fostered and developed in the Albert Gallatin School District, and not the idea of a factory churning out a product. I could be describing any elementary school in our district, as I have not stated one specifically by name. Ladies and gentlemen, you have this model already working in your district. You have a school that gives personalized attention to students, inspires teacher collaboration, and works to obtain parent and community involvement every day. I can only speak from my experience, but it is Smithfield Elementary. A school you can be proud of and one to be replicated. Our students deserve nothing less. Thank you.
Well, that's a tough act to follow, especially with Mrs. Jordan, so I'm actually starting to regret this the further I get up here. So mine may not be as pretty. But I'm Mark Krupa. I live at 4916 Morgantown Road, and I'm part of that issue with students coming from outside the district. Actually, I have 4 children, and all 4 of those students are at Smithfield Elementary. And the reason that we do that is that my wife and I, we believe in education, that she can get those kids up every morning and take them there because of the teachers, because of the staff, and because of the administration that we have in that building. I feel as if they are second to none. And that means a lot to me, and that's a lot to say. I run my own building. I have my own staff. I have some of the best staff that I could ever ask for. But what you're looking at closing, or what you're at least contemplating closing, is one of the best run schools in your district. And that may just be my opinion, but it's an opinion that I believe so firmly that I can take my kids and have my wife drive them there every morning. As far as the education is concerned, I taught myself, as many of these people in this room are teachers, and they would tell you that reorganizing these kids without having all the information would be a really bad idea. If it's going to even run the risk of putting more than 30 kids in a classroom, the value of education drops. For the last 20 years, we've been teaching our teachers to take and look at the individual needs of our students, be looking at teaching the individual styles of that student. And with 30 kids in a classroom, anyone in here that's ever taught a classroom will tell you that is impossible. Well, actually, it's very difficult. I won't say it's impossible. Current situation that we're in is we're talking about a single-story masonry building that for years, in my opinion, has been neglected. We should not be in a situation where our roof isn't as the shape that it is. And during the last meeting, the reason I'm here is that there was a vote that was brought up to actually go out and try to obtain bids to get more information about what this would actually cost. And 5 of our members decided not to pursue that. And I don't know how we would even be looking at the numbers of $1 million without taking into consideration having bids from the public, more than just one, to come up with those numbers so that we could actually have a solid base on what we're trying to analyze. I really don't have the full 5 minutes, and I wouldn't burden you all with that. But one of the questions that I would have is, does the district have a long-term maintenance plan for its buildings? It should probably have a 5-year plan for the maintenance. And would the roofs of the buildings be included in that maintenance plan? And if so, how would one school be overlooked year after year, and we wouldn't be good stewards of that program or of that building? And I don't know if you can answer that now or...
I can respond, Rupa. Their Garland company did do a couple of different times. The first time they did it was basically a roof plan, was in 2016, and they prioritized the needs of the district, got on all the roofs of every building, and prioritized the need of the roofs that needed replaced. And in 2016, they did indicate that the roof at Smithfield would need a full repair within 3 to 5 years. So in 3 years, I mean, it was lucky to make 3 years. The number of times that our maintenance guys were on the roof addressing leaks, I lost count. You know, so we had Garland come back out, assess it again, and you know, as they indicated, there's a 2016 roof plan that this one definitely needs replaced. You know, we can't wait any longer. And he did give us a plan for other buildings in the district that you need to restore some, and a couple that needed replacement. Parts of the buildings, not entire buildings, but there is a plan for that was done in 2016 that we had the Garland Company do again recently.
And where was the repair of the roof in that plan from 2016, or was it considered? And I appreciate you answering my question.
The best I can recall, it stated that it would need replaced within 3 to 5 years, and they were basically doing patchwork in that 3 years to get something to work around today. But it definitely was part of that plan.
And just in my experience in dealing with a building that is very similar to Smithfield Elementary, there are 3 different elevations to that roof. And we're looking at taking the cost in 1 year. But different portions of that building could essentially be done throughout time, so it wouldn't be such a substantial cost right up front. And then also with the boiler system, I know that it did pass inspection. And even in my own building, I'm looking at replacing our boilers if they do in fact go down over the course of many years by using 5-ton rooftop units. So and the installation cost of those are about $12,500 with the installation of the platforms. So there are alternatives, and before closing a school, I think that all those should be thoroughly analyzed with many different bids from the public. So, thank you.
Hold on, folks. My name is Ryan Robinson, 120 Fan House Road. I know most of you. I don't know if any of you know me or not, but I'm here today to ask two simple questions. Mr. Pegg has presented his plan. What is your plan, school board members? What is your plan for the students? I would hope that your plan is based on curriculum. It's based on the students. It's based on the educators around the room. Because truly they're what's important. The students are the most important thing in any school system. So my question is, what is your plan? We've heard one plan. You have to know what closing Point Marion did to that town. It killed it. That town had 30 churches and 3 bowling alleys and 2 movie theaters at one time. And the final straw on it was closing the school. And I was part of that as a kid, and it broke my heart. And I don't want to see that happen in Smithfield. Eventually, you're going to run out of buildings to close. You can't just keep closing buildings. We have to think outside the box. What are other alternatives? How do we make our community strong? This rumor has been going around for 3-4 months. Families are upset. You've got more attendance here than I've seen at these meetings. I've heard that this was fake news. I've heard that this was just an idea, not a plan. Well, now it's a plan. And that scares the hell out of me. Sorry, I don't know how to swing, but so I guess my question is to each and every one of you: what is your plan? Do you want to go with closing the school and killing an entire town and killing what truly Mrs. Jordan had built, what Mrs. Rosie has taken over? I drive my kids to that school. I'm not supposed to go to that school. Well, my wife drives my kids to school. I go to work. But Mrs. Rosie has taken over what Mrs. Jordan built there, and it's phenomenal. Why don't we recreate that everywhere? And the other schools have phenomenal teachers. We have the greatest teachers that I've been around. That's why I live in this area. I grew up here. I want to be here. So my first question to you, again, is what is your plan? Because you have time to think about this and not just react. My second question, and this may not be the most popular thing, but I think we need to raise taxes again. I think this area, we are a depressed area. There's arguments for and against it. Recently, the 10-year free tax area in the industrial park, and I believe 2018, started paying their share of taxes. I did see a significant increase in my quick review of the PowerPoint that was shown, but that had to be some sort of an increase. But increase in taxes, I'll gladly pay more taxes for my kids to get the level of education that they're getting from the Toby Makus, the Chrissy Robinsons, look around the room. These are amazing people. And it's frustrating, but regardless, raise taxes, that is my second question to you. Instead of putting it on an agenda, kill another building, close a school, put it on the agenda to raise taxes.
We did put it on the agenda, and it was voted down.
I'm asking, you can't pass any past voting. I'm asking, again, that folks know what is at stake here. Put it up there again.
The only thing I will say about the taxes, I did read a couple of meetings ago, and I'm not going to be here, so whatever the future board, I am glad to see everybody here and be involved. If nothing else, it brought everyone out to get involved. But as a district, we have approximately, and I did it by communities. I said it. There is approximately $1.1 million out of unpaid taxes in our school district. And we have, in the past, it has been some years ago, we actually had 1 to 2 agencies try to get some of that money for us. And it was obviously unsuccessful. But I will say that about taxes. That's the only thing I'm going to say about taxes.
We had talked about that briefly at one of the town hall meetings where we were discussing closing Smithfield. You had mentioned it at one of the school board meetings.
Yes.
This area is a depressed area. Every area in the state of Pennsylvania right now is under a crunch. Every school board, every district. And no matter the funding, whether it's the funding that Pittsburgh's getting or the lack of funding that our Gallatin's getting, every school district in this state right now at the state level is having problems. It doesn't all fall on your shoulders. You guys are my sounding board. I don't get to go yell at Governor Wolf. You guys are my sounding board.
And so you yell at the representatives.
Yeah, that would be.
Right now, you guys are my representatives. You're my representatives.
You are, so you have to get to your representatives
Talk to
too.
state representatives.
State representatives.
I understand that, but I'm saying for this level issue, this issue of saving Smithfield, you folks are my representatives. New members to the school board are my representatives. And that's what I'm asking. Represent me in what me and my family are asking for. Keep the school open. Find other avenues. Find other avenues to save money, whether it be the printers, whether it be, I throw out 1,000 things that we've talked about over the course of the last 2 months, thinking about this. But find other alternatives. Closing buildings can't work. It's not a long-term solution. Think outside the box. Bring back the students that went to private schools. Bring them back. I don't want to worry about our class size of 28. I don't want to worry that we have to hire 10 more teachers because everybody left Mount Moriah because of how wonderful our school district is. Right? That's what I want. I want to see the kids come back from Trinity. I want to see the kids come back from Gallatin to our school because we are a great school district. But it's up to you folks to show us that. You are our elected leaders. So I'm asking you, please, don't consider this as a plan to shut down Smithfield. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman?
It's coming on and off, yeah.
I'll speak here. Good evening, my name is Claudia Wilhelm. I live at 305 Road in Smithfield. Here this evening representing all of the elementary school students in our district with a focus on Smithfield Elementary. Admittedly, listening to the recorded meetings online, going to the town meeting last week and this evening, it's perplexing to me as a community member very involved in the community and a parent or student at Smithfield Elementary having benefited from their excellence in education, that it's even a consideration that we would close a school of this quality and blue ribbon. From a funding source perspective, I appreciate Swain bringing up the tax issue. I've heard that particularly during the October 14th meeting. And, I don't know that there will be an answer this evening, but there are funds that are owed to the district. What's the process in place to get that flow back to where it belongs? Also, where's the opportunity to reach out to individuals like Chevron, for example, who have a business presence here in our community, to reach out to them from a goodwill effort perspective and recognize that our survival as a community and their presence as a business industry, the two are dovetailed with each other. If the community goes downstream, so will the interest in businesses even being here. Some statistics to share with you in the event you're not aware of it and for the audience. From a funds flow perspective, the Rebuild America School Act of 2019 perhaps is a funding source for our future. I don't know when that House bill will be passed, but I understand sometime in 2020. The Department of Education found that 53% of public elementary and secondary schools need to spend money on repairs, renovations, and modernizations to put their on-site buildings in good overall condition. The study estimated the nationwide spending necessary to reach this standard would be approximately $197 billion, or about $4.5 million per school that needs improvements. Smithfield Elementary fits that definition. And certainly that funding of $4.5 million would take care of the needed repairs and the boilers, and then some, and then other repairs in our district that need to be. where we are residing. Refers to the 7 elements needed for closing the achievement gaps and raising achievement for all students. The 7 elements are readiness to learn, high expectations, which everybody in this room has, quality conditions, qualified staff, accountability, and parental involvement and funding. In my opinion, even the thought of closing Smithfield Elementary and relocating students to other elementary schools in our district does not represent 2 of those standards, quality conditions and readiness to learn. From another funding source, a piece of information that was discussed at the meeting last week was the potential for royalty payments for the mineral rights for the grounds underneath the Plaza School. And I've heard some contradictory information, and I don't know enough about it to challenge one way or the other. I've heard that drilling has not started, but yet I hear we're waiting for royalty payments. So I'd be curious to know where, who, when will we be reaching out to that company to say, how are you doing with your drilling, and what's the opportunity for royalty payments? Again, another funding source to help Smithfield Elementary and district. Thank you.
My name is Brad Owensberg. I'm a resident of Fairchance, and I'm one of the ones that takes my kids to, well, my lovely wife does every morning, takes our kids to Smithfield every day. I just want to touch base on pretty much what everyone else has said. You talked about the $1 million that we haven't gotten taxes. Do you guys count that in your budget? No? Okay. Just wanted to see if you count that in your budget. The class size and stuff, that statistic that you showed, that's what you're projecting next year would be, right? Based on what we have now.
Yes.
So the 320 in Smithfield, they're just going away?
No.
Okay, so those numbers are going to go up pretty good.
5th grade would go to the middle schools.
Okay, but first grade, kindergarten has 30-some kids in their classes right now. So those kindergarten kids are going to get spread out. It looked like mostly the 3, Friendship Hill, A.L. Wilson, and Mason County. So now you're going to divide those 60-some kids amongst those 3 schools. That's 10, kids, whatever the number is. So those numbers are going to go up for every class. Correct? So those numbers you showed are not.
No, those numbers
Are what's now.
That's based on where people live, what grade they would be in next year. Those are actual numbers for kids that go to school now and where they will go next year. That number is based on what we have. The only thing that was estimated was kindergarten, not having enrollment, knowing how many kids are going to enroll in kindergarten at each school.
So but you said those numbers are what we have enrolled in schools right now.
Correct.
So if those were enrolled in our schools right now, you still have to take Smithfield kids and add them to those schools.
Smithfield kids were part of that projected enrollment at each one of those schools.
Okay, and the next thing is you want to take 5th graders, and some of these kids are little kids. I mean, everybody knows you got bigger kids, little kids, but you want to take a small 5th grader and put them in there with a giant 8th grader. And you want to talk about safety in our schools and everything. Well, that right there is pretty unsafe. I mean, these kids are different there's some 8th graders as big as me. I mean, there's some big kids. And there's some little kids that are just tiny. So that's a security issue you guys need to think of when you close schools. They talked about the other businesses in the area. Have you guys talked with, seeing that Boeing, who's a big company, Calfrac, Chevron, you got all these giant companies over there, Johnson Matthey, that I'm sure their kids go to this district. Have we even looked into considering, any type of help from them or consideration, donations, or anything with them? So I just touched base on everything that they were saying, and I agree. You got the most amazing teachers in the world in Smithfield. Granted, that's because we go there, but every one of them, I love them all to death. My kids flourish there. They're both high honor kids, and they're just amazing teachers. You got an amazing woman right here that did such a great job at that school. We all love her, miss her to death, but she passed the reins on to another amazing woman that is just absolutely fabulous. And you want to take all these, and now these teachers and principals have to bid into other jobs. So you're saying there's a chance that these teachers, who are amazing, might not even be our kids' teachers anymore. Well, that's unacceptable. That's just, these are my opinions, so thank you.
Anyone else this evening for public forum?
I'd like to say something, just to piggyback on what Mr. Roseberg said. Continuity of education is also key to quality education. And when you talk about, first of all, everybody knows my beliefs on class sizes. And I have always thought that my concern was with smaller class sizes at the elementary school, and that's still obviously a priority. But the class sizes that are projected for the middle school are very concerning as well. You use the terminology average, which implies that there were going to be classes much larger than what was projected. The continuity of education, you're going to take these kids that are in a wonderful setting, and not only are you going to disrupt all of them, you're going to disrupt all the kids in the other elementary schools. You're going to, because of the bidding process, you are going to upset all the classes across the elementary schools, across the entire district. Continuity of education is going to go down the toilet, and only us on the board, whether you're here now or who's going to be here next month, we have the ability to stop this and say, no, we're not going to make this kind of rash decision. As all these people have said, we can't just keep closing schools to meet financial responsibility.
Anyone else that would like to speak this evening? Okay, Mr. Hague, I'll turn it over to you, the work session.
Yeah, I would like to thank you all again for being here this evening. This is a very important topic, that we have discussed this evening. I want to reassure you that this is not a public hearing to close the school. This is simply options for the board to look at when it comes to either making needed repairs to the school or looking at do we have to close the school. I do appreciate, with all sincerity, of you being here tonight. My student attends Smithville Elementary School, so it's not a goal to close schools. It's unfortunately funding, where we're at, it comes down to funding. And I do agree, partnerships are important. We've worked with Chevron, I met with Mrs. Bezak and Johnson Matthey in my office on Friday. They're raising money on their own to give to the district to support technical needs. They purchased, and we're going to recognize them at next month's meeting. They raised, their employees raised it by having fundraisers to give the district money to buy 30 Chromebooks and a cart for one of our elementary schools to use. And they want to continue to help. So we are reaching out, and we do have partnerships with community partners and businesses to try to help. Unfortunately, you saw the fund balance and how it's been dwindled away, and this isn't something that not one board member, and guaranteed not myself, is looking forward to do. It's just giving the district options, and which will be discussion at future meetings for the next several months. So it won't be a rash decision. It will be one that's going to take months to make before the board can even decide if they will move in that direction or not. So I really honestly thank you all for being here to share your concerns for Smithfield and our district and our kids that we serve.
Mr. Mayor, when you get to that situation, will the community as a whole and all of us have an option to actually give some suggestions on what we feel might work there?
At the public hearing, you will be permitted to make comments, to ask questions, the whole 9 yards. That would be at a public hearing, that if we schedule one, it would be probably about the second week in December.
And this entire discussion, if there's a form of the board discussing this, it needs to be at a public meeting that's been advertised. So this is not something that's discussed in executive session. So if it's going to be discussed in meetings, they're going to be scheduled meetings that the public absolutely has a right to
It's been a certain rule. We follow what the state says. Now, everybody says that the 5 people who voted wanted to close the school. That's not true. We had more experience than some of the other people on there. I knew that if we turned it down, we still had 60 days for new board members to come and make that decision. I knew if I lost, we're going to have to change in regard. I'm glad we get a change in the regard. I'm glad that you're alive. Most of the time, there's only 4 or 5 people here. You got concerns, and we see it come to us, because sometimes it never gets to us.
Mr. Colbeck, I can tell you from talking to these people that these people are actually willing to help raise money.
I understand that. I understand that.
With respect to
Mr. Robinson was correct. I came from Point Marion. I'm Point Marion, and that town did die. And I told my wife, if Smithfield loses school, Smithfield will die. I saw it. I'm not in favor of closing Smithfield. You need
there's no one here. If nothing else, it got everyone out. It got you all involved. And whatever happens, I'm not going to be here, but I like to see people involved, and you should stay involved. You should know what this board is doing every month financially. You should pay attention to that because you are taxpayers, and I bet you no one knew the $0.1 million of unpaid taxes. And I love to see everyone be involved and be a part of it.
I want to comment with respect to the vote last month. There was discussion that all we were trying to do was to vote to solicit bids for the roof.
You said 90 days, so we only did 30.
And they could have been
If 60 left.
The guy that I can't remember his name, but the gentleman that spoke clearly indicated that if we were going to do this, we needed to start the bid and advertisement process as soon as possible. There was no requirement that we accept anything, and yet 5 members of our board, knowing how bad the roof is in Smithfield, declined to move forward with soliciting bids. It's unacceptable.
Mr. Robinson?
You could have quadrupled the number of people in this room had we posted the plan that was kind of snuck in there at the end. What people, I know you guys.
What plan?
Well, this
Plan
is,
was just was.
We never saw it.
I understand that.
This is where our
Mr.
works-
Colbeck saying that he's like glad to see people come out. This is based on a rule.
but if everyone,
Had it been posted, people would fill this room.
but we all, but listen, we do have, the workshop is every Monday before the meeting. And I would like to see the room filled every Monday.
I completely agree with that. I'm just saying as far as attendance goes,
All
I'm just
these
saying, I'm not
years.
trying to disrespect.
No, I understand.
I understand your point, Mr. Robinson, I do. I'm not offended. We did, at the last meeting, we did publicly acknowledge that I would be giving a presentation tonight that was televised and on the web, that presentation would be made tonight. It wasn't on the agenda because it's not a voting item. You can't really put it on the agenda. But and the reason I moved the meeting here is I know that the meeting, that the town hall meeting you had, that people were informed that we would be having it here. So I thought to accommodate a larger number, that's why we moved the meeting here. But I wish there was a better way to put that out there other than the way we did it. I by any means didn't try to sneak anything in.
No, and I didn't mean it to come across that way. What I'm saying is, and I am not a fan of
We
Facebook,
understand.
but it.
I am not either.
I understand that, but my wife tells me when something is going to happen.
Point well taken, and I promise you that when we schedule a public hearing, we'll not only put it in the paper, we will advertise that there's a public hearing, we'll put that on Facebook and everything else. Correct, Mr. Bowles?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Mr. Fay, I'll let you go through.
Okay, we're going to get to our agenda at this time. We do have our building principals and administration to my right. Do we have any questions for any of the elementary principals from the board?
I have a comment. I've noticed that Friendship Co. includes on their calendar the date of the board meetings. And I think that's a really great idea that if the other elementaries want to jump on board, then that way the parents just have a friendly reminder of the board meetings. But
I would like to know with Smithfield
all the effort and time all of you put into this. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it, and all of you deserve a lot of credit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions for the elementary principals? I know I see Mrs. Baker, I saw Mrs. Rosie. Dr. Witt is over there. Okay, middle school principals, Mr. Wilson and Mr. Dillo are both here. Any questions for either middle school principals? Anything in the board package you'd like to discuss? Okay, Mr. Hutchinson?
I'm back here.
Okay, these are all the way in the back. Any questions for Mr. Hutchinson in regards to the high school, anything in his board package? Okay, thank you, principals. Athletics, Mr. Dupont is over here to my right. Mr. Dupont?
Yeah, good evening. Just like to have a couple shout outs for our girls volleyball team for making the playoffs for the third consecutive year. Our boys soccer team had the most wins in school history. Our football team had the most wins in school history. Cross country team finished with them fourth. Also, on Wednesday, we had 4 student athletes sign national letters of intent for scholarships. We had one Madison Hirschberger, one to Kent State, softball player, one Paoli softball player, one to Ohio University. Both of those girls are all-state players, first teamers. Delaney Gervin, one from California University of Pennsylvania, and also Jackson Miller, one from California University of Pennsylvania for baseball. So I'd like to give them a round of applause. Student athletes. They're all high honor roll students, and we're thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Dupont? Thank you, Dwayne. Maintenance. Any questions for maintenance tonight? The questions you have, I may be able to answer. I do. I was going to refer, the portico at AG South has been completed. It looks beautiful. I know we had an issue there the last several years. Our maintenance department did complete the work. It looks fabulous. And it did save the district around $10,000 to $12,000 from the lowest bid we had last year. The other bid was the 30. So I think the total project with labor and materials and everything was right around $17,000. It's a little higher than what I had told you it might be, but it did take them some considerable time that they did after school hours and on weekends to get that work completed. So I'd like to thank the maintenance department for doing that. If you get a chance to drive out and look at it, they did a phenomenal job. Any other questions? Are there any questions with maintenance?
Yeah, I did. How's that pilot program working?
The pilot program is working out very well. We did recently get a couple new subs that Mr. Chapley is working with them to make sure that they have some training going in to sub-custodial positions. I have frequent meetings with Mr. Todak and Mr. Chapley in regards to maintenance projects and issues throughout the district with boiler certifications and you name it. So I meet with them usually. We try to meet on a weekly basis if we can, but that plan is working out fairly well with those 2 gentlemen taking the lead in that.
While everybody's here, if you know anybody that needs a job, our sub list is way down for maintenance, there's cafeteria workers.
Everybody. Sub-custodians, sub-cafeteria, sub-homeowners, sub-everything. And if you know anybody that has a 4-year degree that's not certified as a teacher, they can still get the emergency certification. The majority of our sub-list is contained of people that aren't education majors in college, but they have a 4-year degree and they have an emergency certification. So I think, Mr. Kruger, you probably experienced that over in Green County with the sub-shortage as well.
Very tough.
So anybody out there, send them our way and we'll get them emergency certified and get them in the classroom to help us.
Because when there's no one like that, when we can't find subs, our children end up in the gymnasium.
Yeah, they get split in other classrooms and, we do have a lot of days where we don't have enough subs, and the children are split between classrooms or sent to the gym to sit in the gymnasium with the present teacher. So it's difficult. So whenever you don't have a sub, there's no education taking place for some of these kids. Financial, Mr. Belson.
Yes, I handed out tonight a copy of the Act Index for 2020-2021 budget year. Shows the state index was 2.6%. Albert Gallatin's index for the next budget year is 3.8%. And there's some calculations there as to what the millage can be if we stay within the index, raising it to 3.8% increase. Would generate about $392,000 at 100% collection of value of the mill, and 85%, which is our current estimated collection rate, is about $334,000. I'd like to also review with the board the timelines. December 10th, PDE will notify us as to what data will be used to apply for exceptions. The exceptions, of course, allow us to exceed the index if we qualify for exceptions for either long-term debt, special education, or retirement expenditures. That's the only way the district can exceed the index of 3.8%. It's an increase in millage. January 9th is our deadline to advertise the preliminary budget for adoption by January 29th, or adopt a resolution that we will not exceed the index, meaning we will stay below the 3.8% as an increase for real estate tax for 2021 school year. Then by January 19th, we have to give notice that the preliminary budget is out there to display, and of course the deadline of January 29th to actually adopt that preliminary budget. Below that, we would set our meetings as though it's the first or the third Monday and third Wednesday of the month. In January, we would have to have a special meeting to look at the budget and put it out as a display for public view, public comment. Then we may have to have a special meeting to adopt the preliminary budget in January. So those are the timelines. Below that, PDE will get back to us by February 13th. No, I'm sorry, that's the deadline for us to submit for the exceptions. And then they notify us by March 4th of whether we qualify for that. The last meeting, the board did ask me to talk to Chevron. I have been in touch with them. And right now, their plans are within the next 5 years. We may see some small royalties come in. Our lease is set to expire in 2020. They're looking at updating and renewing those leases automatically with the same payment that was made in the last lease agreement. They do have plans for 2 sections. From what I was told, the first section would bring us some royalties, a smaller amount of royalties within the next 5 to 7 years. And the second plan is implemented after that. So it's just an update on what you asked me to talk to the Chevron about.
Quickly, we can be involved in discussion on setting up this new lease.
I definitely think that's something that needs to be renegotiated and not automatically renewed. So I'm not familiar with whatever lease is in effect now, but I think that's something that needs to be reviewed and just not automatically.
Any questions for Mr. Belson?
I do. I know that there's from the county with respect to the tax revenues, but...
I'm gonna give you guys an update on that.
Okay.
Mr. Wilson, I have one more question. What would we have to do to allow a tax increase to get to referendum? They want to pay more taxes.
They would basically be with those timelines. I didn't take it in there, but there's a deadline in January. I'll get Prove it. Yes, we would have to have that. I don't think that.
Any other questions for Mr. Felch? Troy Gold, Food Service. Mr. Gold, come back here.
Thank you.
Mr. Gold, go ahead.
We are having our Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday. If you guys have an opportunity to stop at one of our schools. I did want to recognize Ms. Dugan, who's retiring. I believe she has 30 years in the district, and thank her for her service. She's a great worker, great worker. Wish her the best.
Hey, Troy, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You're at the high school, back in here. I was in here last week. We have one of these ovens. Is this working well?
We do have one oven, one convection oven on the bottom, yes.
All right. Do we have another oven at Pliable somewhere that's not being used?
We have 4 ovens that we've taken out of schools because we did receive equipment grants at 4 schools. Actually, well, at 4 schools we accepted the grants. So we have 4 stackable ovens in storage right now.
They're workable?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Speaking of ovens, I think the CTI school is having an auction. You can ask other districts if they had equipment they want to get rid of and sell. And we also learned that the Lower Highland School District is having an auction that we could put stuff in their auction as well. So I do know we have some items that are old equipment, some old saws, the ovens that they have in a couple of schools that we may want to put in one of those auctions to try to sell and get some money from the district. Any other questions for Troy? Technology, Mr. Boland.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I really do not have anything else in addition to what's outlined on the board packet, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Any questions for Mr. Boland in the back?
I do.
Yes.
What about the bulletproof system you have with this call off? Is Rachel still working on call offs?
I'm not sure of that answer, sir.
Yeah, the ASOP system wouldn't work with the custodial overtime. So she is still helping us with that. I believe that the system can work, but we have to have somebody that will initiate a call to call custodians for overtime. So one person would have to initiate the call for that building. If nobody takes overtime, then they have to initiate a call that will go district-wide, is what Rachel did. The system can do it, but we have to have somebody who's going to initiate that call to place custodians for overtime.
What kind of overtime is Rachel getting per week, per bi-weekly?
I think we're paying her like an hour on the leave a day. I can't quite remember. It's either 1 or 2 hours a day. She's calling the overtime and trying to get coverages for subs, which we don't, I think we might have 3 subs in the entire district instead.
Well, I know, but we just spent all this money on this new system. And still got people making calls. All right.
Special education, Mr. Plisco is the acting special ed director at this time. Any questions for Mr. Plisco? Okay. Mrs. Bezak, elementary, federal funds, curriculum, nurses.
I did want to tag, I'm not going to not say something. I did want to say that I did want to elaborate that we do have potential. Mr. Hutchison and myself are going to be working with Chevron with the Junior Achievement Program. The details of that program are being worked on, and that'll be a meeting probably following the Christmas holiday. So we're excited about that. That would be actually at the high school. We are looking at, as Mr. Pegg said, Johnson Mappy will be here at the next board meeting to share a presentation with all of us on their efforts and what they did to help Albert Gallatin out. We do appreciate their service to us and their dedication to the local areas want to say that we are working on the third textbook that we want to look at for math. Again, I keep saying that will be an expense. And we are going to, I'm going to call the gentleman back tomorrow. Mr. Pegg has a suggestion that I'm going to also hear in the executive session about maybe looking at the upcoming days and some time. I just need a little bit more time with the elementary teachers to look at this third version of a math book. And then we will be having some teachers here and there piloting it. And then we will get some feedback as to what they feel to be the best book for what we need in our district. So again, we're just following proper channels, and I just want to make you all aware of where we are in that process.
Mrs. Bezak, I'm going to chime in real quick. I'm sorry to interject, but you mentioned about what we talked about with the day, a half day.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be executive session, but to let the board know what we wanted to bring up is that the day before Thanksgiving is a 1 hour early dismissal for all students and staff. What we were contemplating is instead of a 1 hour early dismissal, making that a half day for students so we had time for this professional development with our staff, but the teachers would still go home an hour early as the car track. But we thought it would be a great time to send the students home half day instead of 1 hour early. So that's what we were discussing, that we are going to ask you to vote on Wednesday night. Okay? Go ahead, Mr. President. I'm sorry I interjected.
And other than that, we did submit, myself and Mr. Flisco did send the additional forms that were needed to take part in the dyslexia pilot with the state. We'll be waiting to hear some feedback regarding our status with that. And then in the meantime, if we don't get accepted into that pilot, on the agenda at the end, there is permission to request 2 teachers go. We can take our own money and send these 2 teachers to go get trained in the program regardless, because we just feel that we need it, given some of the status of our reading scores in some of the schools. So it is very much our advantage to send these 2 teachers to go get trained and then bring the training back to provide professional development. That was an add-on. It's on the last page of the agenda. I did want to clarify that. And also something that I don't see on my minutes that I sent to you was that we did have our first meeting with our District Parent Advisory Council, which is part of the federal requirements. It's a very informative meeting, a lot of participation. It's the first time we have a lot of parents come. And the parents also did a great job helping the guidance counselors with the elementary career fair that was held here at the high school for 5th grade. On a positive note, it was very good. The children enjoyed it. Once again, success, thank the guidance counselors, and I also thank the high school administration for supporting us and having it here. Transportation was coordinated, and again, the parents that came out and helped facilitate that really did help us a lot. As Mr. Golden did donate snacks, provided some snacks for the students too to get on that day. And that's it.
Any questions for Mrs. Bezak? Thank you. Mr. Hutchinson, anything else with secondary or curriculum in the secondary?
No, not at this time.
Any questions for Mr. Hutchinson? Mr. Parham, anything to add with transportation?
Just in addition to my board report, I want to thank the board for their support of me with your vote this summer.
Any questions for Mr. Parham? Chief Bialecki? Chief, are you here?
I have nothing for the board at this time. If anybody has any questions for me?
Any questions for Chief? Thank you, Chief. I do want to mention that we did, our district did apply for the Safe Schools Equipment Grant, but we were notified last week that we were denied any grant money this year. We did receive grant money last year that we put toward the purchase of safety equipment. However, this year we got 0 back from the state's Safe Schools Targeted Equipment Grant that we applied for. However, we also did apply for the PCCD grant. There is the meritorious part, which our district can get $40,000 for purchase of safety-related items. And So we did apply for that, and we also applied for the second part that is competitive, and we did apply for, Mr. Hutchinson, help me out, was it about $480,000 we applied for?
Yeah, roughly 430,000.
430,000 for positions that we are asking for funding for 2 years to help with mental health in the district, to serve our needs in the high school, middle, and elementary district-wide. I believe that was 3 positions we were looking. So we won't get an answer for that for a while, but I wanted you to know that we did apply for that grant money to try to get those positions in the district. Any questions from the board for anything? Okay, there is a need for an executive session. Oh, I'm sorry.
On the unpaid taxes for the Tax Claim Bureau. If I can divert for a moment, somebody out there asked how tax collections work. In Fayette County, as in most counties in Pennsylvania, Allegheny and Philadelphia being, I believe, the only 2 exceptions, delinquent taxes, meaning taxes that go uncollected after your tax collectors send out the bills and they don't get timely payment, they get turned over to the Fayette County Tax Claim Bureau. At that point, Fayette County Tax Claim Bureau is, in a sense, Albert Gallatin School District's delinquent tax collector. They are charged with collecting delinquent taxes for all the municipalities, all the school districts, as well as the county, in terms of those that are in Fayette County, those municipalities and school districts. There was a concern that came up a few months ago that the district learned through some media reports that the Tax Claim Bureau had sold properties at tax sale, collected money, and did not distribute it to the relevant municipalities and school districts. It apparently goes back to 2011. All right. What I want to report to the board, you had requested that we send a letter to the Tax Claim Bureau, which we did, and we copied it to a number of other county agencies, treasurers, comptrollers, the commissioners, etc. Right before that letter went out, we did receive $35,226.92 representing the 2011 tax sales.
Is there any documentation that accounted for that?
The way it's working, the way they intend to do it in the future is they are going to court. They're telling the court, this is what we have found. This is who, for a calendar year, which municipalities and which school districts are owed money, and they itemize it. The court then says, okay, the distributions to go to these municipalities and these school districts. There is then typically a 30-day period in case any individual wants to object to it. The kind of people who would object would be the people who had their property sold, quite frankly. Then they're releasing it with an itemization by tax map number, so you can track which properties were sold and how much money was collected as a result of the sale, and how it was being distributed to school districts and municipalities. Now, the county has, the commissioners, assigned basically 2 attorneys to try to clean this up for them. One in particular, Timothy Witt from Connellsville, has been charged primarily with trying to, in a sense, gather up the information and figure out who was owed what. Like I said, they completed 2011, and that's why we received the $35,000. They have chosen the year 2017 as like a stopgap, meaning they're going to try to process that and then keep current was 18, 19, 20, and then also worked their way forward from 2011. Now, I asked him if he could tell us ahead of time what he estimates Albert Gallatin would get. Since we're the ones who, our district sent the demand letter to them threatening to sue the county, he gave me this following information. 213, by the way, the 2011 year, they believe was probably the high point for tax sales. They think it was a result of the recession that we went into, where a lot of people lost their homes, property through mortgage foreclosures, etc., and they quit paying their taxes as a result. So they think we're not going to ever see a year like that in terms of 35,000 plus. For 2017, they believe what Armstrong will get is approximately 7,000. Then going back to 2012, which you're in the process of doing, they believe we're going to get about 14,000. 2013, they're estimating we're going to get about 17,000. For them, it would be a guesstimate for the years between 2014 and 2017. Now, Mr. Witt offered to come and speak to the board at a public meeting because they are concerned that there are rumors out there of vast amounts of money that, although they're large sums countywide, that for individual school districts and municipalities, frankly, it's not something we're going to balance our budget on. But they would be willing to come to a meeting to outline what they know about Albert Gallatin and the process they are going through. Right now, 213 and 217 will be in front of the court with the 30 days running, so we should see that fund fairly soon. And the next one that will go in will be the 2012. If we continue, or if we would file a lawsuit, frankly, what the court would initially do is order the county to account, and that's what they are attempting to do right now anyway. But it's something we can discuss whether or not you feel there should be more pressure at this point. I don't want to see you spend money on attorney's fees that you're getting, but you're going to get anyway. Now, one last thing. Do not confuse those tax sales with repository sales. Do you know what repository sales? Those are properties that may have gone through a tax sale and nobody bid on the properties, nobody bought them. They then go into the Tax Claim Bureau's repository. At that point, anybody who's interested in acquiring a property can acquire it, and the Tax Claims Bureau negotiates a price, gives the municipality and school district an opportunity to say whether they believe that more money could be obtained. Quite frankly, usually the answer is no. But I don't want you to mix those up with those repository sales. They tell me that their repository sales are being distributed along with your monthly delinquent taxes that they've collected for, in our case, Albert Gallatin. Now, the question is, do you wish them to come to one of your meetings? Up to you. Like I said, you're willing to come and explain.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
Okay? All right. I don't know if December will be a good month, but I will ask them. The interesting thing is, Mr. Purcell in particular expressed to me that a lot of the clients he represents are owed money as well. So he's interested in trying to get this done as expeditiously as possible for the county. But the one who's really doing the day in and day out work is
Well, according to that article that was in the Herald Standard that I gave to you, they put the money in places where they
Here,
Is that
whether
incorrect?
the county or the tax claim bureau spent the money elsewhere, they're still coming up with the money to distribute, because that's their obligation, because they are countywide, the delinquent tax collector for all of us.
I just think it's something that should, be kept up on. I mean, they took, the money and they used it
But don't assume that for certain.
Yeah, I'm just going by what the information that was given to me is not what.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why they said if you wish, they would be glad to come and answer any questions. Yeah, I think I saw just about everybody on the bench, so that's what we'll do. We'll make that arrangement. I have nothing else to say.
If there is a need for an executive session for personnel and
Any student matters?
yeah, there is a student matter.
Okay, student confidentiality as well.
We'll take about a 10-minute recess.